Hey, what is up guys, YouTube, and we are back here today bringing you guys the remainder of my DPL season. DPL has finally come to an end, so I do have more time on my hands to be making videos again for you guys. And yeah, in this video I'm going to be going over the remainder of my season for Crit City and our subsequent playoff run. And I hope you guys do enjoy it. So this is going to be a much longer video, so if you guys want to go and get some food or something, settle in, because I'm going to be going over all my matches and then be giving a kind of post DPL discussion about the team, Crit City, and how I think we all did. So hope you guys do enjoy. But we're going to kick it off here with my game versus King L5. This was, I think, week 5 or week 6 in DPL, and we are faced up against the Crusaders. So at this point in the season, the Crusaders were having a very dominant start to the season. I think they were 4-0 at this point, so this is probably week 5. And yeah, they were just cleaning up teams left and right, and here we are, Crit City matched up against these guys. So at this point we are definitely trying to end their streak. I know we can do it. I got full faith in the team, and we actually ended up smashing the Crusaders this week. But this is my game versus L5, so we did end up ending their undefeated streak, which is fantastic, and really just proved a lot of the doubters wrong. A lot of people obviously shit-talking Crit City from the beginning of the season, and yeah, we just went on to prove them all wrong. So we're going to show my match here versus L5. So he's using, we are playing Oras, and he is using a pretty fat Venu Clef team. It's very well put together, centered around Clef, Laddie, Venu, with defensive mons in Metagross and Gliscor that maintain an offensive presence. Very, very good mons in Oras. A pretty nicely put together team in my opinion. A little bit weak to psychics like Reuniclus, for example, or Mew, but I don't have a top tier psychic. I have Guard, which is obviously broken in Oras, but I do have a little mini Georgian here, which is basically a lesser version of Reuniclus, but can put in work. So I brought a pretty interesting team. I have Calm Mind Rest Lando with Chesterberry, which is able to beat his Gliscor 1v1. It's also able to put in a large amount of work. I am Hidden Power, Ice, and Earth Power, so if you look at his team, it really kind of goes in. If I can get a Calm Mind up, I'm able to actually set up on Laddie, depending on its item. With one Calm Mind up, I can beat Mega Venusaur 1v1, barring like an SD Swords Dance variant if he can beat me before I can Calm Mind up. I can comfortably beat mons like Lantern. Clef, if he's not Calm Mind of his own, I can beat. If he's like a Rocks variant, I can Calm Mind up on that and rest up and just wear him down with Earth Power. And obviously Metagross I can beat with boosted Earth Powers. So a pretty nice mon in this matchup. Guard, really, really nice here. Obviously his team is kind of weak to Hyper Voice plus Psychic, though it does have Metagross, which is a great pivot. It's probably going to be like an Assault Vest variant, or maybe like a Ghost Berry, like a Sid Berry variant. I could see that coming too. I am Lum on this Guard to catch potential Metagross pivots, and something like Assault Vest Lantern as well coming in. Maybe Gliscor if he's really feeling himself and he's like Spit F Gliscor and he wants to switch in and take a Wisp. But I'm Wisp, I think a Wisp Taunt, Psyshock, Hidden Power. No, I think this was either HP Ice or Taunt. Either way, very strong Guard here. Then I have Rocks Encore Ape, really nice to prevent Clef from setting up all over me. I have an offensive Splash Plate Rotom, which can Oko, Spit F, Gliscor. Very, very nice to have on the team, because SD Gliscor is L5's Wincon. I identified that before going into the game, and as we play, you're going to see that's the kind of mentality he's operating with as well. So then I have a mixed defensive Clef Key that can set up spikes. His team does not like spikes. If he's Defog Laddie, that means he won't be choice locked, or he'll be choice locking himself into Defog, which is pretty bad versus me. With mons like Gardevoir getting free momentum in that turn. And if he's not like a Specs item, if he's Life Orb, then he's significantly weaker versus the rest of my team. Gliscor can't be Toxic Orb plus Defog in Gen 6, so yeah, spike stacking is really nice here. And then I have a standard CM Geosian here with Shadow Ball Psyshock coverage to just beat Clef and beat down the rest of his team. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to lead my Infernape as he does lead with his Clef. I'm going to throw my Rocks up turn 1 as he follows suit and sets up Rocks of his own. I'm going to Encore here, locking him into the Stealth Rocks, and then proceed to U-turn out the following turn, as he does just go hard out into his Lantern here. So I'm going to U-turn out. I get some nice damage off with the U-turn, and I'm going to go hard out into my Guard here and just fire for a Wisp this turn. Wisp cancels out Lantern's lefties and does a nice 6% each turn. It also potentially catches him going Gliscor. I wanted to get this guard in early. I've traced his Volt Absorb so he can't T-Wave me or a Volt Switch on me. The best he can do is Toxic or Scald me here, and if I get any more damage off on Lantern, my Infernape is looking really, really dangerous here. He doesn't know if I'm like a mixed set with Flamethrower, Hidden Power Ice or anything like that. It's probably in his interest to keep Lantern around. But I'm just going to fire for Wisp here, as he does stay in and dodge my Wisp, which is really unfortunate, as he does just go for the T-Wave. So I guess he over-predicts there. He expects me to Mega Evolve, and I'm not going to do that, obviously, in the face of a Lantern. Crusaders are known for running Thunder Wave. They're a very lucky side, and they are known for running T-Wave spam in Gen 6 because it is 100% accurate, and it's just the speed drop is just ridiculous in Gen 6. So I'm going to go for the Psyshock here, as it does a nice chunk 36. He'd actually be in range of another Psyshock the following turn had I burnt him there with the Wisp. But he does go for the Scald and gets the first turn burn and proceeds to wear my Gardevoir down. So yeah, this Lantern's being a bit annoying. I am just going to Mega up here and go for the Hyper Voice, knocking this thing out. Actually, I go Mega Psyshock because I think that was probably a Spadef Lantern there. As now he's going to go into his Latios. Here I'm going to save my guard and going to go out to my Klefki. Guard is still really useful to keep around because I am creeping a Gliscor, and having that powerful Hyper Voice to fire off, or even just a Psyshock to click versus Venusaur could be really useful in this game. So he's going to go for Shadow Ball and crit me. So yeah, it never ends. But he's going to go into his Gliscor here, and as I spike up, get his Toxic Orb, and this is probably going to be an Estic Gliscor based on his team, based on matchup. It's just the best he really can bring versus me, as he does fire for hard Facade here. This turn I'm going to go for the Hidden Power Ice, as he does just go for the Sword Stance, getting up to +1. We do a nice 61%, and I expect him to roost up this turn, so I'm just going to Calm Mind up, and we're going to get to +1. So this Hidden Power Ice is going to be doing it's going to be doing a lot of damage, if not taking him out. He's going to be doing like high 90s, if not like high 80s, early 90s, if not taking him out, depending on his investment. And based on the first Facade that he went for, I'm like very defensive on this Landorus. He can't actually take me out with 2. Depending on rolls, he'll need 2 high rolls to take me out. And like I said, I am rest on this set, so if I rest up after 1 Facade, he's in a really tough spot. So he's going to go Facade here and get a high roll. He's going to get a 36. As we do crit him here with a Hidden Power Ice. Now he was obviously very upset about this. He didn't know I was Rest Lando, and obviously didn't know my spread, so he probably thought he just 2-KO'd me there with Facade. Even had I not crit him there with a Hidden Power Ice, I could have just spammed Hidden Power Ice, kept him low for anything on my team to take him out, something like Guard or my Infernape to come in revenge. I also had a Splash Plate Rotom, which was just going to blow that thing away, but he does lose his Gliscor there, and he's going to bring in his Metagross here, and I think I just go hard out into my Rotom as he goes for the Ice Punch, I believe, this turn, as preserving Lando to potentially rest up on his Venusaur is pretty nice for me, as I'm just going to go for the Hydro, and that does 40 to Clef, which is big damage versus a Clef, so offensive Rotom, kind of proving its worth here. I'm going to go for Volt Switch and crit here, but he is going to softball it all back up, and Clef's going to get back up to a nice amount. So this turn I'm just going to go for the Calm Mind as he goes out into his Laddie. No, I don't go for the Calm Mind, I make a better play. This game was played a long time ago. I double into Clef because it covered him potentially having knockoff, which is something I wanted to scout for. The fact that he wasn't Calm Mind himself, the fact that he was Stealth Rocks, Moonblast, Softboiled, he could be knockoff in that last slot to make him a little less weak to Duosion, to just knock off Clefties lefties, which makes it easier for Laddie to take it on. Stuff like that. He could also be just like Ice Beam or something on Clef to help him versus Lando. He could be a number of things, but my double into Clef Key there, my hard switch into Clef Key covered him making that play and also going hard out into either Metagross or his Laddie here. As he does go into Laddie, I'm just going to fire off the Thunder Wave here, as it's really nice for my team now, because now everything can outspeed this Laddie, and Laddie was one of his best threats versus me alongside Gliscor. I think those two are really solid versus this draft. So having that thing parried means that Gardevoir will be able to outspeed it and just blow it back with Hyper Voice as well as Lando and Infernape. So he's going to go for the Hidden Power. I think that would have been Hidden Power Ground, I think, on this team, because I did have a Drapion as well. So I'm just going to go for the foul play and bring this thing low, put him in U-turn range of my Infernape, as Klefki is going to go down here. So Infernape's going to come in, and I'm just going to U-turn out, as he does choose to preserve and go into Clefable. and this is going to give me another Geosian where I can just go for the, I think I Calm Mind up this turn, yeah, so I Calm Mind up as he's going to Wish up, and this turn I'm just going to fire for Shadow Ball as he goes hard Metagross, and this thing after a Spike is going to, I believe, just drop here to the Shadow Ball. So yeah, he tried to heal up his Gross there, but it didn't work out for him. I'm going to switch out into Infernape in case he wants to trick me a Scarf or a Specs or anything like that, as he does get fully paralyzed. Like, had he tricked, obviously it wouldn't have really impacted Infernape there. I would have just attacked the following turn and outsped regardless, but his ladder is going to drop, and he's going to bring in his Venusaur here. I'm just going to Suicide off Ape here and just click Flare Blitz until this thing goes down to recoil, as it's doing a nice amount. I am Charcoal Ape on this set, so it's doing a little bit more than just regular like Jolly Apes Flare Blitz would. I'm going to go for the Psyshock here as Clef comes in and eats that up pretty nicely, only does 45, revealing that he's probably more than likely a kind of mixed defensive Clef. As this is just free Geosian food, so I can just start Calm Minding up. I'm going to fast forward it here because this goes on for a bit. Pretty much Geosian just wraps this game up. There's not really much this Clef can do outside of critting me like 3 times. And yeah, Geosian is going to wrap this game up. So I don't think this was the last game in the week. I think it was towards the end of the week though. It could have been the last game, not too sure, it was a while ago. But yeah, Crusaders did end up losing the undefeated streak to Crit City, which was pretty great. Definitely good morale boost for the team, and we went on to continue dominating in the regular season. So we're going to skip through this because this goes on for quite a while. Clef just doing Clef things, and he's just fishing for the crit, which is his only play really. He can't do anything else, literally. So Venusaur is going to come in here and drop to Geosian. So yeah, Geosian putting in work. That was a nice win for us. I'm going to pause it here and jump into my game for next week. Alright, so we're back with my week, I think this is week 6 at this point, game up against a guy called Justin. We are facing the Rising Phoenix this week, and I played this guy back in RS a couple of times. First time we played, I had a pretty decisive win against him. Second time we played in finals, he flinched my Rachi and my Laddie to win with his... He had this really cool roleplay Thunderous eye set actually, and he copied Serene Grace from my Jirachi and ended up flinching my Rachi and my Laddie down, so I pretty much lost me the game there. But we've got a pretty interesting history in Mons, but he's had a pretty solid season I think so far for RP. I think it's been a bit hot and cold, but he's definitely a solid player and he knows how to build. He's a good builder from what I've heard, so this should be a pretty interesting game. He's got Taunt, which absolutely destroys this draft. When you have to bring Luxray to a game, you know you've got a tough time versus a Taunt. Yeah, Life Orb just really goes in here. Life Orb Heatwave for Skarm will definitely be the set that he's running. He could even be Taunt for my Clefable, so that's something to keep in mind. But very threatening team, and he's got Celebi, which also really just fists this team. So a pretty tough matchup, but brought a team that I think can do very well here and win me this one. So I've got a Scarfed Regen Mindshare. I'm packing a lot of defense on this. It's a pseudo check to his Tyranitar. Max attack, but I've got a ton of bulk, a ton of defense. It does let me switch into Crunches and Stonages from Tyranitar if I need to, and does help me take on something like Dragon Dance Tyranitar, which is a pretty big threat to the team. It also helps me versus Celebi, just clicking U-turn. I've got Poison Jab for the Celebi and for the Sylveon, which is big, and then Stone Edge, I think in the last slot for Taunt. U-turn, High Jump Kick, Poison Jab, and Stone Edge. I think that was my coverage here. So then I have a specially defensive Curse Skarm, which can actually win in this game, assuming I can get a Toxic off on that Stunfisk, which I can lure with my Luxray here. Definitely a solid one. I can Curse up and Oko stuff like Taunt after rocks. I can Curse all over T-Tar and you know, wear that thing down, as long as it's not like special Fire Blast with Life Orb or something like that. I can beat Sylveon 1v1, I can beat Tentacruel 1v1, I can beat Celebi 1v1, so very solid one here. Not really a set you see much. Curse is really nice. It also helps me get past his Mega Scizor, which was a mon that he didn't choose to bring, but was the reason I ran Curse over Swords Dance on this Skarm. I can Curse up. If he does want to start S-ing up with his Scizor, I can Curse up and beat that in a 1v1 exchange there. So then I have a Fizdef Megavinu, which is just a really nice check to his physically offensive mons like Scizor and Tyranitar. Also really helps me versus his Sylveon, and his Stunfisk can actually Taunt isn't really going to want to switch in on Sludge Bombs too, so that's definitely if he's Life Orb as well, which is a set that I do expect him to bring here. Then I have a part of my anti-Taunt core. I've got a specially defensive Clefable with a little bit of Fizz-Def, but predominantly Spit-F, and that does let me take stuff like Hurricanes from Taunt T. I am Wish Teched on this set, which is not optimal, but it does allow me to pass wishes to my teammates. And yeah, the reason I'm running Protect is because Wish Protect over softboard is because yeah, Taunt T is broken with Life Orb, so I need that extra 10 of recovery. Then I have a pretty nice Luxray here. I think I'm Rest Talk on this set. Yeah, I think I am Rest Talk on this set. Rest Talk, Volt Switch, Toxic, or I'm either Rest Talk or I'm Protect, Toxic, Volt, Hidden Power Fire. This game was played a long time ago. And then I have a Fizz-Def Toad with Rocks, Toxic, and yeah, pretty nice here to help check the Scizor and soft check the Tentacruel and stuff like that. So we're gonna jump into the game and see how it went. I'm going to lead off with my my Luxray here as he leads off with his Stunfisk to get rocks early. I'm going to Toxic this thing because that's crucial in my Scum putting in work in this game, and just go hard out into my Toad here as he does just go for the raw EQ. Bounces off, and this turn I will just be able to get my rocks up as he's going to go hard into his Celebi. So yeah, this one has Goldie matchup versus me, so I'm going to have to switch out here, go into my Skarmory and start Brave Birding or Cursing up. He's actually going to go for the Calm Mind, so if he's Calm Mind, he's going to probably have Psychic, because that's the only way he can really get past Mega Venu. And if he's Calm Mind Recover, he could be Dual Stabs, but then he's kind of checked by my Skarmory, so we're going to have to see what he is. He ends up being Shadow Ball, and that does very little damage. It does 25, so it kind of bounces off Skarm, which is really nice, as our Brave Bird does a nice chunk, forcing him into a range of health, where he's going to want to start recovering in a couple of turns. Or two Brave Birds will just take him out. So I'm gonna go for another gonna go for Roost here actually, as he does go for the Shadow Ball and gets the Spit-Def drop there, which really hurts Skarmory. That was really unfortunate for me there, but we are gonna get some justice in a couple of turns with a crit on this Celebi. So he's gonna go for the Shadow Ball here, and that's a 52. He's actually Metronome on this Celebi, which is a really cool set. But we do get the Brave Bird crit there, which makes up for the Spit-Def drop. I would have just been able to spam Brave Bird versus him after realizing he was Metronome based on the damage calcs had he not got the Spit-Def drop, so it kind of balances out there. But definitely a fantastic bring there on that Celebi from Justin. So he's going to go out into his T-Tar here, as I do just sack off my Scum here. I just click Roost just to scout what he wants to go for. He's not Rocks T-Tar, so he's more than likely an offensive variant. So now I'm going to bring in my Mind Shower here, and I'm just going to click U-turn, because I do expect him to want to save T-Tar. This could be Scarftar, definitely, because I do have Latios on this draft, so he could have brought Scarftar just to have a way of getting around Lati and trapping it, really opening up the rest of his team. So I'm going to go into Shout here, as he actually reveals Protect, and this is pretty interesting. I guess he was scouting for the high jump kick, scouting if I'm Scarfed or whatnot, but he ends up being Weakness Policy, and that implies that he was scouting for what move I'm going to lock myself into. Had I not been Scarfed here and just click high jump kick off that U-turn, expecting like one of his fighting checks to come in, he would have lost T-Tar here, but he stays in, makes the gamble, and it pays off for him, because he is going to get the Weakness Policy boost, which is going to be pretty scary, because now this T-Tar is in the driver's seat in terms of boosts, and I can just go into my Luxray here, sack it off essentially just to get that Intimidate drop, which means my Toad will be able to take hits from it a lot easier. And I'm going to go out into my Toad here, as he does just go for the crunch. I could have gone into my Mind Shower here, but I didn't want him being like a rogue EQ or something there, and just clicking that, expecting me to go back into my Mind Shower on an edge or a crunch, because Mind Shower is really important in this game. Being able to Stone Edge the Torn, being able to Poison Jab the Sylveon, and being able to outspeed the Tentacruel, which is a bit of an issue to my team. So I didn't want to potentially risk losing Mind Shower to a crit there or anything like that, as he does just go for the crunch and fail to take out my Toad. I'm just going to go for the Scald here and get off a nice burn versus this Torn, which is going to be really nice for me getting that burn chip. If he is Life Orb, it's going to be putting him closer and closer in range of dying each turn. I'm going to go into my Clef here as he goes for the Heat Wave, not wanting to miss, I think. So he does reveal to be Life Orb. It is the best set he can bring versus me, as now with my Clef in, I am just going to click Wish. He's going to bring back out his Tentacruel, and here he's going to start going for the Sludge Bomb, revealing that he's obviously like wanting to get rid of my Clef here. He's not wanting to spin necessarily, he's wanting to weaken this thing down, which is fair enough. And I'm just going to start going for Flamethrower here, because this thing has Black Sludge, and if I can if I can negate his recovery, it's going to be a lot easier for my Clef and my Venusaur to take it down. Tentacruel with its Black Sludge is a completely different beast from Tentacruel without it, so going to start going for the Wish Protects here, as he does reveal the Acid Spray. Actually, I go for the Flamethrower this turn. I do get the burn there, so I had to go for Flamethrower. That was 100% my play. Getting that burn off on Tenta was crucial in wearing this thing down in the long term. Every time it comes in on rocks, instead of gaining 6%, it's losing 6 after the ORS burn there, so yeah, definitely comfortable with making that play, as this turn I am just going to Protect up, and he is going to go for the Sludge Bomb. So his Acid Spray Sludge Bomb, interesting set. He's obviously not wanting to get, worked by Carmine Clefable. Because he doesn't have Sizzle here, he really does have to have some sort of check to Carmine Clef, which otherwise just destroys his team. So yeah, that definitely makes sense as to why he brought it. He could have been Haze, but Acid Spray also makes sense there. So going to go hard out into my Venusaur here, as he does just go for the spin this turn. So nice spin there, as I will just be able to Mega Evolve, and I think I just go for the Sludge Bomb here, expecting Taunt to come in on the Giga Drain, or the EQ or something like that, but he does just sack this thing off, and yeah, he's going to go down to the Poison there. I outsped the following turn, so I could have just Sludge Bombed again, but he's going to go out into his Taunt here, and then this turn I'm going to go out into my Clef, and take that Hurricane pretty well because of my Spidef investment, and force him to take all that residual. As this turn I think I do just Wish Up as he goes into his Tenta, and unfortunately I get parried. I get fully confused there, so I can't get the Wish Up. But I'm just going to switch back out this turn into my Luxray just to sack it off to this Tentacruel to get Clef back in outside of confusion and Wish Up. I need Clef to remain healthy. It is my Taunt check at this point because Luxray is down. Keeping that thing healthy is definitely the play here, as he's just going to go for the Acid Spray once again, and I'm going to start wishing up, getting back up to full, and slowly but surely this Tentacruel is getting weakened down, which is very nice for the rest of my team. It's nice for Mineshaw because that's one less Poison Jab pivot that he has, one less High Jump Kick pivot, and Venusaur can just start clicking Sludge Bomb pretty recklessly now at this point with Tentacruel down. So going to go hard out into my Mineshaw here on the Acid Spray, and at this point I think I do just go for the U-turn, as he's going to go into his Stunfisk and get the Static Power. Now this Static Power ends up losing me the game actually. I'll just say it here now. You'll see what I mean. That's going to be very big in the late game there. So going to go out into my Toad here, as he does get the Static Power versus Xiao, and I think I just go for the Skull, the Raw Skull. No, I go for my Rocks because I want to punish the Taunt for coming in. That's right. I go for Rocks because now his Tentacruel is in range, I think, of Rocks plus Burn. With Protect on my Clef, I think. That was my reasoning for going for it. This happened a long time ago, but he's going to get the Para off of my Venusaur, which was a tactical Para there versus Venusaur, because like I said, Para's broken in ORAS, and getting that thing parried means that Sylveon will outspeed it. So he's going to go for the EQ here as I bring in my Clef. The reason I want Clef in is because I can prevent Tentacruel from spinning on me. I think Tentacruel at this point in the match was really low, so I could have just clicked Protect there, force him to die to the burn, as his Taunt does reveal the Taunt there. As this turn I am just going to go for the hard Moonblast and take out the Taunt, as he misses Kane there. So Clef is a little bit healthier than it otherwise would have been had he not missed there. So he's going to go into his Tenta, and he actually is at a range where he can spin on me, but he is just going to opt to go for the Acid Spin here, realizing that he doesn't really need the Rocks off the field. He can just keep Clef weakened. He's going to go for the Acid Spray and drop my Spidef. I Protect twice. I don't know. I think that might have been a misclick on my part. I'm not too sure. But I protect twice, and this turn he does just go into his Sylveon here, and this thing is inside. The fact that he hadn't brought it in earlier in the game to heal off status versus my team, like I burnt his Taunt, I Toxic his Stunfisk, I'd burnt his Tenta. The fact that he hadn't brought it into Wish Up or just click Heal Bell kind of implied to me that he was a more offensive set. He could be Specs, or he could be some sort of setup variant, so I'm going to go hard into my Venusaur here, as he does just go for the Calm Mind. If I can get any sort of damage off on this Sylveon, it'll be really nice. Venusaur should be able to beat it. I am Sleep Powder too, so I can potentially put this thing to sleep. But getting the poison off would be amazing for me. But he actually reveals to be Calm Mind with Weakness Policy, so he's going to reveal the Stored Power here and take out my Venusaur. From the damage that he took from that Venusaur, he doesn't have a lot of bulk, and he actually would have been in range of my Poison Jab here from Mineshaw had I not been parried. But unfortunately, because we are parried, he is going to outspeed us here and take us out with a hyper voice, which is going to really suck there for Xiao. Apparently, some of the Rising Phoenix members after the game were saying that he was quick attack on his Sylveon with enough attack investment to take out like offensive Mineshaw. But yeah, they weren't calculating for all the defensive investment that I did have, so we actually lived, we comfortably lived a quick attack. I did calc after the game, and when I learnt that and calced like how much attack investment he'd need to take out offensive Xiao, and yeah, we comfortably lived that after rocks. So pretty unfortunate there. Would have meant that we took him out there with a poison jab, but static parry's 30% chance, like it happens. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely was a bit frustrating here in this end game. So he's going to take out Clef with a hyper voice, and that is going to be a pretty unfortunate loss there to Justin. So not really much you could do there. I guess I could have doubled, or I could have clicked like raw Stone Edge as opposed to clicking U-turn versus the Tentacle with Xiao if I'd expected him to fish for the para versus Stunfish versus my Mineshaw when I U-turn. But you know, 30% chance it's skulled, but also there's a 70% chance that you're not getting parried. So it's tough to say there, but was definitely an unfortunate turn. But yeah, props to these cool sets. Weakness Policy spam on this team, plus Metronome Celebi was a nice bring here, and it certainly paid off for him with the para spam that he brought. So nothing can be done about that. But that is going to be my week 6 game. We're going to pause it and jump into the next one. Alright, so we're back with, I think this is week 7 at this point, and we are versing Trick of Eye. And this week I'm taking on a guy called Low QP. He's using a pretty interesting sand team with Mega Pinsir, with fat pivots in Amoonguss and Lantern, and I'm using the Ores Mega Guard team, which I do like quite a lot. I think it's a pretty fun offensive team. It doesn't have the best like defensive capabilities, but it's a very fun offensive build for sure. So yeah, pretty interesting team. I do have pretty solid checks to conventional sand in Landorus and Rotom Wash, along with Mach Punch and Fernape. But yeah, certainly his Pinsir is a massive threat to my team, especially if he can weaken down my Rotom with like Pursuit Tar or something like Toxic Excadrill or something like that. The sets I'm bringing this week are offensive. I'm like very bulky on this Drapion. I think I'm sub SD, so I can actually sub up on his Amoonguss. And I am Brick Break, and I think I'm Brick Break and Poison Jab on this set, so I'm sub SD Brick Break Poison Jab. Has great coverage versus this team, and can heavily dent stuff like Excadrill, can blow back Tyranitar. Poison Jab being neutral against everything else is really nice. Then I have a Wish Tech Guard to take on the Latios and also help versus the Amoonguss and the Lantern. Then I have a defensive Helmet Lando to assist with the Sand. I've got a Cobra Berry Lure Infernape, which is really nice. I am Mach Punch, so I can bop his Sand Sweeper and Excadrill if it gets weakened or in range after helmet damage, and I have Overheat to cook the Pinsir if it thinks it can stay in and quick attack versus me. Then I have another Helmet Rotom to assist with the Pinsir matchup, and then I have just a standard Spikes Klefki. So we're going to jump right into it here. He's going to lead off with T-Tar, as I do lead off with Keys. Now, instead of risking the EQ turn 1, if he's like banned at EQ, because banned is really solid versus me, I'm just going to switch hard out into my Rotom here, as he does just go for the hard Seismic Toss. So this is an interesting bring, Seismic Toss. I'm not really sure why he brought that, but it does guarantee a lot of damage versus this team. I know actually Zazo brought Seismic Toss versus this draft, and his reasoning was that nothing really had recovery, so getting 100 damage off versus every mon is pretty solid. In this team, the mons on this team don't have naturally high base HP, so I guess I can see why he brought it. But I'm just going to go for the Pain Split here, get it all back as he goes out into his Lantern here. Now, I really contemplated Wisping here, because Wisping, getting that nice residual off on this mon every turn would be really nice. He also reveals not to be a lefties on this Lantern, so that could have been really clutch for me. But instead, not wanting to risk the Toxic, or expecting him to make some kind of play into his Laddie, I am gonna make the switch here, out into my Klefki. But instead, he actually goes hard into his Excadrill, so this is really risky. I'm not sure why he risked that versus a Rotom. They could have clicked Wisp, but it pays off for him as he gets my Klefki here and he gets his Drill in. So, going to go hard into my Lando here, as he does reveal the sub on this set. So he sub potentially rush drill. I'm imagining rush drill. He didn't show to be mold breaker, so he could be force, but I'd imagine he's rush. As this turn he goes to the toxic as I get my rocks up. So he's lefty, so he's sub toxic protect lefties. Interesting drill, definitely versus something like a rest Lando, which I could bring, but he brings this toxic set, and it's actually really nice because it's wearing down my my defensive counterplay to his sand. So at this point I realize, well, I'm gonna have to get this extra drill in a situation where it doesn't have its sub up in order for my Infernape to revenge it. So gonna have to play some U-turn games with between Lando and Infernape. By clicking U-turn early with Infernape, I also kind of lead him to believe that I'm a scarf set or a choice lock set, as opposed to being a mixed set. Being able to freely change my moves up, which could really benefit me later in the game when his pincers in versus my Infernape. So gonna go for U-turn again with Lando, as he is just gonna protect. He's making his best plays here, just wearing down my Lando for his T-Tar and his pincer, as he is obviously walled by Lando. Like if I'm rest, he can't touch me, and because he's just mono EQ on the set. So I'm gonna U-turn here once again, and gonna go back out into my Lando. And what I realize here is I really need to catch him on a turn. I really need to go hard out into my Infernape, U-turn into my Lando, and then U-turn, get the slow U-turn back into my Infernape to break this thing sub, and to have Infernape in front of Exca without a sub. So this turn I'm going to pull the trigger, I'm going to hard into my Ape as he does go for the protect, and this is going to be nice for me because I can U-turn here. I think he says nice in the chat, he realizes what I'm trying to do. So he's going to go for the EQ here, and obviously not affect Lando, and I can get my Infernape back in here with this U-turn the following turn. But we are taking a ton of toxic in the process, so gonna have to potentially pass a wish to Lando later on with my guards wishes, because obviously Exca is walled by Lando outside of toxic, so I can play that game if I need to. So gonna go for the U-turn, as he is eject button. He's gonna go hard out into his laddie here, and this is gonna force me to go into my into my Gardevoir here, as he does just go for the defog. So he's defog laddie. And he actually reveals to be Shadow Ball. He's actually the Ghost Berry here, so I'm going to Mega Up and just fire for Hyper Voice here, receiving the wish the following turn, as he's not very invested. That Shadow Ball didn't do too much. He's obviously not a boosting item, so we can take this on pretty well and wish up here, as he's actually going to switch hard out into Pinsir here this turn. As I do protect up, have to keep guard healthy. It's really nice versus this team, and this turn I'm going to switch hard out into my Rotom here, as he goes into his Extra Drill. Now, this turn he's going to go hard out into T-Tar. The reason I go into my hard out into my Lando is because I don't expect him to sack his Extra Drill to Hydro. I expect him to make some sort of play, getting either his Amoonguss in or his Lantern in versus my Rotom, and getting my Lando in versus either of those affords me rocks, which is really nice. It kills Laddie. It puts his Pinsir in guaranteed range of an attack from my well, actually he's always in range of Overheat, but it puts him in range of Hyper Voice from guard after rocks when he megas, and yeah, it's just really useful chip versus the rest of his team. So he's actually going to go T-Tar here, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be nice rocks, but he's actually going to be revealed to be Scarf Tar. So this was cool prep. He was Scarf Tar, and Scarf Seismic Toss. Can't say I expected that set, but it definitely works out for him there, as this turn I can just go into my Ape here, and he's going to go into his Lantern and take this close combat, revealing that he's very Fizz Def on that set, and he's actually he's Citrus Berry there. So I'm going to hard out into Cleft Key as opposed to going for U-turn, still preserving the illusion of a Scarfed Ape, as he is going to go for the Volt Switch here, and he's going to bring back in the Monster Excadrill. So yeah, this thing is back inside, and I'm going to throw a Spike up here, expecting him to sub aggro play, but it does afford me a crucial damage versus his team, and will punish the drill for coming back in later in the game. So he's going to go into my Rotom here, as he does just go for the Earthquake, and this turn I am going to go hard onto my Drapion on the Toxic, as he does make that play, and right here I am going to go for the Brick Break. I've got a ton of bulk, like I mentioned. It's well within my favor to take this EQ and break his sub here with the Brick Break, which and just prevent him from subbing with Brick Break, which means my Infernape gets to come back in and start claiming lives. It actually just claims a kill when it comes in next, so he's going to go for the EQ, and he's actually going to get a really high roll and take out my drape. So that was pretty tough, but he does, yeah, obviously rolls on hacks. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's not, it's a roll, so it's well within the possibility of the turn. So Ruin is going to get toxic, and I'm going to be forced to take out his sub with the Hydro here. And I have to just get him on a turn that he wants to click Protect. Honestly, with Rotom, I have to hard switch out into my Infernape on a turn I expected to make that play. But Excadrill has so much health that he can pretty comfortably just continue subbing, and without having to click Protect, he can bank off a miss as well, because Hydro obviously being so inaccurate is a problem. Yeah, this Excadrill set was a really great bring versus this team. It's a really nice way of getting around conventional sand checks, and it's a set that, you know, I've used similar sets to this in the past. I think it's a great bring. Certainly, it's not something that I faced in mocks, and it was very effective here. So yeah, shout outs to Trick of Eye for this great set. He's going to start protecting here. I actually miss Hydro there, which really sucks. It means that there's a chance that he will end up with a sub, but fortunately for us, we do hit that Hydro there, and Excadrill is going to be without a sub once again. So Infernape is back in. He's going to click Protect. Again, I played it as though I was a Scarfed Infernape up to this point. So I'm just going to click Close Combat into his Lantern, knock him out, and he's going to bring in his Pinsir here. Now this is where the lure is going to come in. I am just going to click Overheat as he does try and take out my -1 Infernape, but we eat that up and we cook this Pinsir, so that is one massive threat down. And Infernape's actually looking in a really good spot now, because I do have Mach Punch. Laddie is very low, it's actually in range of Mach. I have Overheat for this Amoonguss, I have Close Combat and Mach Punch for his Tyranitar and his Excadrill. So we're looking in a good spot. I'm just going to U-turn this turn as he goes into his T-Tar on my, I guess on an expected like Flare Blitz or something, or Overheat at -2. But I will be able to get that nice chip off on him and throw up a Spike here as he goes into his Laddie. Now, this is a tough turn because I don't really want the Laddie to die while Klefki is in, because that means his Exa comes in and gets a sub up, which pretty much means I'll lose the game straight up. So I'm going to go hard into my guard as he does just go for the Defog, wanting to remove those hazards, wanting to keep, I guess, Amoonguss as healthy as possible so it can take hit from Infernape. I'm just going to go for the Hyper Voice here, get some chip off on this Excadrill as he fails to take me out there with the Earthquake, and Infernape is going to come in once again. But it actually can't because Sand's up and he is Sandforce Drill. So I'm going to throw a Spike up there, expecting him not to make the sub play. It was a bit of a risky turn, but like had I been foul play, he would have subbed for nothing and lost HP. So I'm going to go harder into my Infernape here because I do have that Spike up. It's going to mean that after coming in later on, even in Sand, he's in range of a crit from Mach Punch, and that's what I have to play for now. I have to play for the crit versus Excadrill later on in Sand. I expect him to save his drill here, I don't expect him to sack it off, so he's going to go hard out into his Amoonguss here, as I do just go for the Close Combat. And I'm going to Close Combat once again, expecting him to make the pivot out into his Tyranitar on the Overheat, forcing me to get to -2. As I do get that right, and he does sack off his T-Tar there, so he's going to go out this turn into his Excadrill, and I think he protects. No, he doesn't protect. I go for Mach, and unfortunately we don't get the crit there, as that would have been really nice for us. We would have been in Blaze range, so Overheat would have cooked that Amoonguss had we crit there, but unfortunately we don't. So yeah, shout outs to Trick of Eye and Low QP. Great prep there. I think Subtoxic Acid was a great set, and it really put in work. Nothing I can really say about that game. You could argue that I got unlucky with the roll on Drapion, but really I don't think it changed too much. Having an extra mon would have been nice and breaking that sub, but ultimately Excadrill would have been Excadrill would have been a little bit lower. I don't know, that could have mattered actually, considering that he would have had to, he would have been considerably lower after taking that. I'm not sure, but regardless, well played to Low QP. It was a good game, and I definitely enjoyed it, despite having to play around that toxic shenanigan with the Excadrill. So gonna pause it here, and we're gonna jump into my week 8 game. Alright, so we are back, and this is actually gonna be my semi-finals match in the DPL. So Crit City went on to make it to semi-finals. In the 4th seed, we ended up facing off against the ZFG, Zero Fox Given, who were the first seed team. They had a very dominant season, and yeah, we are facing off against them here. So we obviously had a lot cut out for us this week, but the team worked really hard, and we ended up winning the week, which was amazing. And yeah, we definitely deserved to win this one. The boys put in a ton of work, and we were actually robbed of a game. Mayo robbed Kaz of his win earlier on in the week. Kaz played a phenomenal RS game and ended up losing to like some of the most ridiculous series of hacks that I've seen. But yeah, we're actually versing K-Crick here, who he goes by Shadow Blast, but his actual like Mon's username is K-Crick. He's a really solid player from what I've heard. Haven't heard too much about him prior to DPL, but he is pretty known in the LD and Hive kind of community. He's one of the stronger players in both leagues, so I was looking forward to facing him. I faced most of the top players in draft, most of the kind of the better players so far, but I've yet to play this guy, so I'm looking forward to it for sure. It's a relatively even matchup in terms of matchup. You'll notice here that I am playing Sun and Moon again as opposed to RS, which is a nice change of pace. And we've got sort of similar-esque looking teams with Selly and Electrics and Fairies, but he's got a Mega Arrow on his team. I've got a Mega Gallade. Mega Arrow has a great matchup versus my offense in Gallade and Zera. Being able to revenge both of those pretty comfortably. Gallade has a decent offensive matchup, I want to say here. It is able to check his Garchomp with Ice Punch. It's able to you know, cause Selly a lot of trouble with close combats. But defensively, it is checked by something like a fat Gardevoir and a fat Mew. So he has ways of getting around it and ways of pressuring it offensively. Very good ways as well. Scarf Gardevoir is another option. But yeah, it's obviously a great offensive mon in its own right. My Zero Aura, another great offensive mon here, although it would be if it wasn't for his guard, which Trace Guard is a fantastic mon in draft. I think it's really gained a lot of popularity over the last year or so. People are really taking note of how valuable it can be. You know, Megazam does the same thing in the Mega slot with Trace, and Trace Regular Guard is just a really great budget psychic. Really just rendering standard Zero Aura kind of useless because it traces Volt Absorb. That alongside his Rotom-Mow and his Garchomp present a lot of problems to my Zero Aura, so gonna have to play that carefully. But yeah, pretty even sort of matchup. Though one kind of game-changing element of K-Crick's team is the Mew. I don't have a Dark on my team outside of Volibee, which is not a mon in this matchup with Rotom, with Aero, with Guard, with it can't really do anything in this game, to be honest. So his Mew is an enormous threat to me. Nasty Plot, Roost, 2 attacks is the set that he should bring and the set that he does bring. It can really just demolish my team. So I've had to really like centralize my prep around that Mew because that Mew is such a threat. I am running Taunt and Encore on this Gallade, which seems like a big overkill, but there's a reason for it. Encore is used in the early game in the early to mid game to prevent Mew from setting up Infinitum and just blowing through my team. Taunt is very nice for a late game situation where I want to prevent him from roosting up and I want to keep him low with Taunt. And then I am Knockoff plus Ice Punch on this Gallade, so I'm no Stab. But it is definitely an effective set regardless. Taunt Knock is also really useful for the Celesteela as well, preventing him from leeching up on my team, which is pretty free. And Ice Punch also just neutrally hitting everything on his team. So then I have a pretty standard just defensive Selly. I've got a really nice Weakness Policy, Calm Mind, Recover, Hidden Power Fire, Leaf Storm, Celebi here. Which is a really nice lure for stuff like the Mega Arrow. I take any attack from Arrow and blow it away with +2 or +3 Leaf Storm, depending if I've already got a Calm Mind up. I can set up all over Selly and wear that thing down with Hidden Power Fire, and again Weakness Policy proccing on Flamethrowers and Air Slashes and stuff like that. Then I have a pretty defensive Florges, which helps me take on his Garchomp and his Mew if it's non-Calm Mind, or non-setup, which obviously he will be. I would have loved to have run Toxic on this Florges to put a timer on the Mew, but I opted to run Heal Bell and Defog instead on this set because he does have Cool Fish on his side, which could easily stack versus me and bring Toxic Spikes. I did have Garbodor in this draft as well, but it just didn't really have a matchup here at all. Again, Mew just causing it a lot of problems. Chomp, Guard, and Selly obviously walling it. So yeah, defog was pretty important on my Florages, because I do have a fatter team, and preserving a field free of hazards on my side is definitely important. As far as this era goes, I am a Z Iron Tail set. I'm actually special, but I'm packing Z Iron Tail to nuke the potential guard that I expect to come. I'm sub Z Iron Tail, so I can sub up on guard switches, and then you know, knock it out with the Z Iron Tail. Hidden Power Ice and T-Bolt for the rest of his team. Then I'm running just a standard defensive Pert, which is a really nice check to his Garchomp, and his Aero mainly. I can potentially catch Rotom with a Scald on the switch and protect to rack up the Scald damage, but yeah, that is the team. Certainly is centralized around the Mew. The Mew is a massive problem to me. It has an incredible offensive matchup here, so gonna have to be aware of that and play accordingly. So I'm going to start off by leading with Gallade, as he does lead off with his Chomp here, and this turn I'm just going to Hard Ice Punch, as he does actually stay in an SD, so he's going to live on 1. I'm not really sure what that roll was, but he does just go for the SD here, and switch out to Gardevoir this turn, as I do just go for the knockoff this turn, as we remove that thing's Babiri Berry. So he's Babiri Berry, he's definitely fat, he's a fat set, so we know that. I think that was actually Babiri Berry is the Steel Berry, so he was prepped for some sort of steel coverage, potentially my Zero Aura, potentially my my Heavy Slam from my Selly or my Flash Cannon. So removing that is really nice for us. So gonna go hard into my Celebi here, as he actually goes for the Wisp. He's gonna reveal Wisp, so he's obviously defensive Wisp. He could be Wish Teched on this guard, so that is something to keep in mind. I'm gonna go hard out into my my Pert there, as I expect him to go into either his Celesteela, his Aero, or his Garchomp there to get rocks up versus my Celebi, or get them in before rocks, as he actually is going to go into his Rotom here. So I'm not really sure why he made that play. I guess wanting to scout for the... I'm not really sure. I guess maybe he was defog Rotom and he wanted to defog on my Celebi, and he was like defog Signal Beam or something like that, but he's going to Volt out here into his Mew. The threat is inside. I'm going to go hard out to my Gallade here, as he does just go for the Nasty Plot. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, Nasty Plot just destroys this team. So it's got an incredible matchup. There's not really much I can do about it, apart from go hard into Gallade and Encore this thing. So he's going to make the play out into his Aero here on the Encore, which is nice, scouting for it early. I'm going to switch out here, as he does reveal to be Pursuit Aero. So this was his plan, I guess. Pursuit Trapping Aero, Pursuit Trapping my Gallade. We ate that pretty well. I know there's 39%, because I do have a lot of bulk on my Gallade. But yeah, definitely that Pursuit is going to be annoying to play around, because he can always switch out his Mew and Pursuit Trap my my Gallade every time I come in versus it. So yeah, the matchup turned from pretty tough into or from decent into pretty tough, just by virtue of him having Pursuit on his Aero. So I want to get my rocks up. I want to punish this Aero for coming in, and I can force a 50-50 situation after he takes rocks with Ice Punch versus me switching out. So I'm going to throw out my rocks here, as he does go into his Chomp, and this turn I am just going to stay in and click Scald, as his Chomp just sets up rocks of his own and drops to the Scald there. So he's going to go hard Rotom here, and this turn I am just going to protect, as he is going to go for the Volt Switch here. I think this turn I go hard into my Zera, as he is actually going to Volt once again, and this turn I just go for the sub, as he's going to go for the Leaf Storm here, dropping his special attack. Which is pretty nice for me, as I can just sub up once again. I think he goes again for the Leaf Storm, and it breaks my sub again, so he could be offensively invested, as I will get the sub up once again and end up behind a sub as this guard comes in. I think this turn I do just pop my Z, as I do get rid of the Gardevoir here, which is going to be nice for Gallade. That's one less switch into Ice Punch and Knockoff, and if he was Wish Tagged, now he no longer has that support for the rest of his team. But he's going to bring in Mew here. And I'm just going to fire up some T-Bolts here, as he does go for the Psychic. And this turn I'm going to go hard out into my Celebi, as he reveals to have Roost on this set. So he's Roost, Nasty Plot, Psychic, as opposed to being Psyshock. That did kind of surprise me, because Carmine Florigis is amazing versus his team with Selly removed. But I did kind of expect the Psyshock, but he opts to bring Psychic instead. I'm sure he had his reasons for that, but... yeah, Celebi's inside. I'm going to click Carmine as he Nasty Plots up. and this turn he's going to click Flamethrower, proc my weakness policy as I do expect that, and I'm just going to fire off the Leaf Storm, and unfortunately it narrowly misses out on the Mew, which is tough. That's tough. So I'm going to recover up this turn. No, actually I hard out into my Gallade here, so he does just roost up. So this turn I am going to go for the knockoff, keep him low, and actually knock off his Lumberry. So he reveals to be Lum, so that's a really nice prep. He's got a way of getting around Toxic or T-Spikes or anything like that, as now his Mew's going to be at a range of health after rocks. He's at 55, so he's going to be at 43 after rocks, which is you know, out of range of T-Bolt from Zera, but I can still threaten it with Gallade here. So this is the most influential turn of the game. Actually, this is what decides the winner. Essentially, we're in a 50-50 spot where if I stay in an Ice Punch, his arrow is kept nice and low, and I can potentially preserve my Gallade, depending on how much Ice Punch does. Obviously, if I take him out here, then Gallade lives to see another day and can encore or taunt his Mew later on. If I switch out and he clicks Pursuit, I'm going to be in range of rocks after, and I actually do switch out. I expect him to attack, play more offensively with his arrow, but he actually ends up making, I guess you could argue, the more offensive play of making the Pursuit play there. Actually, yeah, Pursuit was the more offensive play. Aerial Ace would have been the more kind of conservative play, just attacking what's in front of him. So that really pays off from there. He wins the 50-50 and is going to take out my Gallade with the Pursuit. So at 47, obviously he would have died to Ice Punch, and Pursuit would have done about 15 to 20% to Gallade. So we would have comfortably been around to live like many more rock switch-ins, but he does win that turn, as my Gallade is going to go down, and this is going to be really tough to beat Mew now, because that thing can roost up versus the majority of my team, as I am just going to take him out here with a Heavy Slam. He's going to go hard out into his, he's going to bring in his Rotom here, I believe. No, actually he goes out into his Selly. Yeah, so this was a very offensive Selly, I found out after the game. He does have Fire Blast here, so I do still have eject button, or I do still have red card on my Florges, which could potentially come in handy, but I think it's just a matter of time before that Mew is able to roost up and threaten me down. So unfortunately he gets the Air Slash flinch on me on my Swampert there, as I do just go for the Torrent Scald and get a nice chunk off. He's lefties, but he's very offensive on the Selly, as he is gonna go for the Autonomize here, and this is gonna force me to have to waste my eject my red card on my Florges this turn, as Zero will no longer be able to outspeed the Selly, and I obviously need this thing phased out because now it's a +2 speed. So he's gonna get taken out into his Mew here, and I'm gonna go back out into my Selly, and I'm gonna just speed this up a bit because it's gonna go on for a while. I'm gonna start leeching this Mew down, as he actually makes the play out into his Rotom. Good play, wanting to keep his Mew healthy, and this allows him to just stay in and click T-Bolt or a Leaf Storm or something like that. I'm going to go into my Swampert here, sack it off the following turn to Leaf Storm, which is going to get I think my Celebi back in. Is that what I choose to do? Yeah, I get my Celebi back inside because I want to recover up versus this Rotom. I need to get this thing healthy. This Celebi can potentially beat the Mew if I can get it in with a Calm-Mind up before the Mew comes in, but this Celesteal is like max special attack, so that Air Slash is doing a little bit too much, and he's going to go for the Metal Sound here, revealing his final move to be Metal Sound, which is great prep on Kekrik's part, as I won't be able to take a Flamethrower from Mew now, and I don't want to risk him knocking out my Celebi with his Celesteal's Air Slash it if Hidden Power Fire doesn't kill. So I'm going to bring in my Florges and just wear this thing down with Moonblast. Gonna recover up with Synth, but like I said, this Mew's looking like a threat. There's not a whole lot that I can do to threaten it, and this turn I am just gonna go for the Defog, because this means that my Celesteal will be at a much higher amount of health. Like that extra 12% makes a lot of difference with Selly, as he's gonna nasty plot up on the switch there, and Flamethrower doesn't take me out, so we do get the leash off. And yeah, this Mew's in the driver's seat now. It's looking pretty tough. I don't really have a way of beating it now. I kind of just have to switch around, and it slowly but surely takes out the rest of my team. So this was definitely a well played game on both parts. I think Kekrik made the correct decision when he pursued with Arrow, Had I stayed in, expecting that, I would have taken out his area with Ice Punch, and this would have been a very different game in the same game. But yeah, he needed to make that play to win, and he made it. So can't really say anything else, but congrats for making the play. So yeah, this was a nice game, but ZFG do end up winning this one. However, we won the week, so yeah, that's pretty great for us. This did propel us onto finals, which was pretty amazing. I think a lot of people doubted Crit City making finals at all, and the fact that we were able to take out the most dominant team in the regular season in Zero Fox Given was just a testament to how hard everyone works. So gonna speed through this endgame a bit. It goes on for quite a while, but ultimately he's just playing it in such a way that Mew can come in, nasty plot up, and take out Cell Stealer before it gets leech seeded. So Celebi is gonna, Celebi's gonna have to pray for some crits with Leaf Storm, but he's gonna get the flamethrower burn there and take out Celebi here. Florges really can't do anything in the face of this Mew. Had I been toxic with Florges, this would have been amazing actually, because I could have put this thing on a timer after its lung was used up by Galed's knock earlier. But ultimately, I ended up running Defog and Heal Bell in place of Toxic, so that is going to be my week, my semi-finals game up against K-Crick, and like I said, we were propelled onto finals after Crit City won the week, and in finals, we ended up facing the Crusaders, so I'm going to pause it here and jump into my finals game. Alright, so we're here with finals. Now, I've got to set the stage for this game. It's Crit City versus the Crusaders, it's finals. We had a very dominant start to the week. We had Ricardo smash Hydra in probably the most dominant wheelchair I've seen this season from Ricardo. We had Noons get lucked by Moran in his game. We had ABP smash Draft League. Jacob lost the Common League in a pretty decisive one. We had Kaz beat L5 in a real nail biter. We had Pesky and Dra battle it out. Dra ended up emerging the winner over Pesky, and then we had my boy Silver get completely lucked by Count. That was heartbreaking to watch. Silver played a phenomenal game and was completely robbed at the end of the game through a crit that actually crit his mon through Reflect. So that was a joke. Very, very unfortunate, but yeah, Crusaders easily the luckiest team DPL's ever seen. So this game here was played at the end of the week. At this point, it was 3-4. So if we lost this game, we lost the finals essentially. If we win this game, we go to tiebreak. Had Silver not being lucked, we would have. Had I win this game, we actually win the whole thing. So very unfortunate how it's played out, but we still have a chance. We're still in it, and if I win this game, it forces tiebreak. So this week I'm facing off against Das, I guess. And he's using the Crusaders Kieran Black ORAS team, which is built around Volt Turn with Mega Manetric and Lando T into Kieran Black, which is a massive threat. He opted to leave a couple of threats on the bench in place of bringing mons like Magma, which I could definitely heavily under prep for. A very, very interesting team for sure, but very threatening with the Kieran Black. This team doesn't have an ice, or doesn't actually have a dragon resist. So outside of my Excadrill here, so yeah, threatening team for sure. Banned Kieran is something that I expect to come for sure, and yeah, Lando T and Mega Man are obviously issues for most teams in ORAS. So this is a pretty interesting game. We're gonna jump right into it. I'm going to lead off with my Lop here, as he does lead off with his Manetric. Turn 1 I'm going to hard into Drill, as he does opt to go hard out into his Granbull here. Now, I go hard Drill, I'm actually Okka on my Excadrill, so Okka Excadrill is able to counter his Manetric. Had he stayed in there and gone for the Volt Switch there and overheated the following turn at -1, I would have been able to take him out there with the EQ, or just deal heavy damage if he was like a bulky variant and lived for some reason. If he makes the play of going hard out into his Helmet Granbull turn 1 on Lop's Fake Out, I can either get damage off, scare him out, or just get Iron Head damage off versus anything. Excadrill, as great as it looks in this game, isn't actually the win con. I expect to have a very defensive Starmie, a very defensive Lando. Excadrill's never really winning this game. The best it's doing is applying pressure or setting rocks or something like that. But I'm actually going to go for the Iron Head here and get some nice damage off on the Gramble, which will either put him in range of 2 returns from Lop, or force him into a situation where he has to rest, and the rest of my team really takes advantage of that. So this turn I am going to go for the Iron Head. Another reason I go for Iron Head is because he could like, very well have gone hard out into Lando, expecting me to make the play of switching myself here. But Iron Head guaranteed me damage off versus anything. I feel like the reason why I feel like he should have gone Lando as opposed to letting Gramble take this damage is because 1, it lets Gramble take damage, which means it's no longer a Lop check. 2, he risks the flinch. 3, he risks me setting rocks, which really punishes team. And in my opinion, he should opt to get rocks of his own up. Versus a -1 extra drill, that's going to be his best chance. If you look at my team, like nothing lets his Landorus set up rocks safely versus me, except drill. A -1 drill and actually a -2 drill after Lando comes in and gets the intimidate drop off puts extra drill in a position where its attacks are just going to like ricochet off Lando. He's going to heal it all up with lefties or whatever item he is, and that's his best opportunity to get up rocks. But actually he stays in and goes for the close combat, and this, whilst it looks good here, like it looks like the play worked out for him, that was a very short-sighted play, and I don't think that was the optimal play. I think he would have, it certainly would have been worse for me if he'd gone and got rocks up there with his Lando. Losing drill, obviously, like it looks bad for me here, but I stand by that play, and drill was never a win con for me here, as you'll see. But going to go into Taunt here, and this is where things start heating up. So I'm going to go for the Hurricane here, as he does go hard out into his Menetric. He's going to take a nice chunk from that 29%, but that's way too little for standard Menetric. This implies that this thing is heavily specially defense invested. He's like max HP, max speed F or something like that, like calm. He might be like modest with like max special attack, max special defense, and like no special attack investment. But regardless, that's a really fat Menetric, and that's obviously his best counterplay to Torn, because Torn is going to rip this draft apart. So going to U-turn it here, as he does just go for the Volt Switch himself. I outspeed because he is so fat on this Menetric, and RS speed mechanics work differently with Megas. So I'm going to go hard into my drill here, as he does go into his Gramble. And this turn, I'm going to make the play out into my Tang. He could have T-Wave on this. Or he could just click close combat. I don't want to risk going Torn here, whilst it does pretty much claim a life, or at least force Menetric in every time it comes in. I don't want him to be a rogue T-Wave and power that thing. So I'm going to go into my Tang here and just click knockoff, expecting his either his Magma or his Kyurem to come in. And we do get him here with the knockoff. His Kyurem is going to come in and reveal to be choice banned, like I expected in prep. And this is amazing. Now that thing's banned is gone, my Tyranitar will be a pretty nice check to this. I am lefties with a lot of Fizz Def investment, and I do have Protect on my T-Tar, so I can get a little bit of recovery back if I need to versus this Kyurem. As he's actually going to go for the Ice Beam here, the raw Ice Beam, and he's going to freeze my Tar, and this is the beginning of the end for my T-Tar. So he makes another very questionable play of staying in an Ice Beaming here, risking the first turn Thor. Again, he should have gone Lando and got up rocks, but he chooses to get a bit greedy there and stay in an Ice Beam. I am not going to Thor here, and this turn he is gonna get the idea and go out into his Gramble here, not wanting to risk his Kyurem, because Kyurem is obviously amazing versus my team. Even without the band, it's still very powerful. So I'm going to make the switch out into my Torn here, as he does make the double into his main, and I'm going to U-turn out, get some more chip off on that, and go out into my Tyranitar. Now, the way I can potentially unthaw my T-Tar is getting it in as many times as I possibly can, giving it as many attempts to Thor as I possibly can. So I'm going to play in such a way that I position my T-Tar to be in for the most amount of time. So I'm going to U-turn out into my T-Tar here, as he actually clicks a rest with his Menetric, so his rest main. Potentially rest sleep talk was what I thought when I saw that. Potentially rest sleep talk, Volt Switch, like overheat or something like that. I'm going to attempt to Thor here and get my rocks up, because rocks again really crucial for my Torn. But yeah, we stay Thawed. He's going to go into his Lando here and get up his rocks, so they go into my Torn, and this time I'm going to click U-turn again, as opposed to clicking Hurricane, as I do again want to get my T-Tar in just to get that potential Thor off, get up those rocks, and really start pressuring his Kyurem and his Magma. But yeah, we stay frozen. So Gonna go back out into Tang here as he goes for the close combat, I believe. No, he goes for the rest. So he's rest on everything. Rest, T-Wave, classic Crusaders. As I'm gonna double back into my tar, just getting it in and getting that sand back up, giving myself another chance to Thor. As he just stays in and goes for the Dragon Claw here, which does 36. Again, we stay frozen, so yeah, freeze, nice balanced mechanic. As he's going to go back out into Lando. Do I Thor here and get my rocks up? Nah, I stay frozen, so yeah, try as I might, I just cannot get this T-Dar to Thor. I've positioned it about 7 times now, and it's just not paying off for T-Tar. As he's going to go for the superpower there with his Lando, and I'm going to go back out. I'm going to go hard out into my Lop here, expecting him to make the play out into his Curum. I figure at this point, alright, I've just got to start getting damage off on everything. I can't rely on T-Tar to Thor. It's just I've given it so many opportunities to break out of that freeze, but it's just not working. So gonna go hard out to my Lop, expecting him to go Curum or anything for that matter. And Lop gives me fake out damage versus this star move, which will give me some pretty important info. It's definitely a bulkier star move because fake out did that little. So now I got to bring in Reuni, Reuni the Wincon. So this Reuni is actually double dance with mono signal beam, which shreds his team. He did have Skuntank, which was pretty much the only reason why I ran mono signal beam instead of mono psychic. At least mono signal beam plows through that, and it actually gets through his Starmie a lot faster, obviously, than psychic would. So he's going to go for the T-Wave here, classic Crusaders, and I'm gonna start acid armoring up. So the reason I go for acid armor as opposed to going for calm mind was because he showed light screen. As soon as he showed light screen, I fucking knew this dude would be belly drum magma, and that's why I go for the acid armor there, as I am right as he goes in and clicks belly drum. So yeah, reading this dude like a fiddle, as reading this dude like a book, I should say, as he goes for the belly drum, and +6 frustration does 32% to my +4 Reuni. But we are paralyzed, so obviously, there's a risk of getting parried on the turn I want to recover. Unfortunately, I get fully parried there, as I'm going to recover up this turn, as his frustration is doing very little. But I get fully parried again. I'm like, alright, all good, I'll just recover up here. Nah, I get fully parried for a 3rd time in a row, so this is just unreal. You can't even make this up, as I'm going to be forced to preserve my Reuni because I do have Healing Wish on Lop. So if I can position Lop into a situation when it's not in front of this +4 magma, I can Healing Wish up my Reuni and get this thing back. I know this thing's going to have Mach Punch. If he's not a speed boosting item like Salic, he's going to have Mach Punch for my Sand, so I kind of have to, yeah, it's tough. So I'm going to have to go into my T-Tar here, sack it off to the frustration, as he's going to start taking some nice Sand Chip, which is putting him closer in range of an attack from my Taunt. I'm going to go for Fake Out, as he actually reveals to be Protect on his Magmar, so I'm going to have to sack off Tang here as a result to get my Taunt in, which is the only thing that outspeeds it and resists Mach Punch. At +6, I will be able to take it with Taunt after rocks and knock him out with Superpower. So it's looking very bleak at this point. It's down. We are down 3-6 due to some of the most ridiculous hacks you'll see in a game of Mons. But his Mach Punch is going to do 31, so he would have lived even a crit. We take him out here with the Superpower, and yeah, Taunt Magmar is down, so we're down 1 Mon at this point. I'm gonna sack off my Taunt here to Manectric. I know my Lop can outspeed, and I want to get the Healing Wish off as soon as possible on this versus his team, so I can bring back my Reuniclus. But he's actually gonna reveal to be Sleep Talk with Refresh. So his Refresh. This was an oversight. I don't think he realized that Refresh doesn't work versus a Sleeping Mon, but look, it happens to everyone at some point. His Manectric is going to go down there, and he's now going to bring in his Landorus here, as my Taunt is just going to click Hurricane and do a nice chunk to this Lando. This is max HP Lando for sure. It took that Hurricane way too well, as he is going to get confused and revealed to be lefties here. So I know this is the opportunity. I can just click Fake Out. I can take out this Lando. I know that my my Lop outspeeds the rest of his team. He's not Scarfed Starmie, and he's not Scarfed anything else. He's not Scarfed Lando, so I can go for the return, take out this Landorus, and Healing Wish my Reuniclus up the following turn versus whatever he brings in. The reason why it's good for me to take out Lando 2 is because that's less PP that I have to spend with Signal Beam to take him out when I get Reuniclus to +6. So going to take him out with the return here, as he does attempt to go for the Protect. I'm not sure why, and he's going to hit himself in Confusion. That's the reason why he went before Lop there, by the way. But he's going to bring in his Kyurem here. Now, even though he was banned, he could be Protect. It sounds whack, but you never know. And obviously I'm not going to risk clicking High Jump Kick here and potentially missing. Whilst it would let me like play around getting crit with Reuniclus from his Outrage, and based on Crusader's luck, I wouldn't, you know, put money that he wouldn't get something like that. But I am going to choose ultimately just to go for the Healing Wish. It covered him having Protect and it covered me missing High Jump Kick, and yeah, Healing Wish. It's far more statistically in my favour to win with Reuniclus here than clicking Healing Wish and banking on those two situations not occurring. So I'm going to go for Acid Armor here. I'm EV'd to live Outrage into Outrage at neutral into +2, factoring in lefties. So I'm going to get my Acid Armor up, as his Outrage is going to do 64 initially, and then it's going to do 29 the second time. So I'm just going to start recovering up. This is going to be the Reuniclus endgame. As I can just get back up to full with that recover and just start clicking Calm Mind here, as he does bring in Stummy. Now the reason I don't choose to set up on this Stummy, the reason I choose to attack instead of just setting up to +6 is because I know he's going to T-Wave first and then he's going to Light Screen. If he Light Screens first, which would actually be the better play, because then he could live a Signal Beam or an attack and then T-Wave me the following turn. If he T-Waves first, he gets more turns out of Light Screen by Light Screen second if I get parried, so I'm not going to risk him getting up a Light Screen. It makes it a bit tougher with taking out his last few mons. It's just going to take longer, and that means more chances for him to crit me with Outrage. So I'm going to take him out there with Signal Beam, as he's going to bring in his Kyurem here, and he's going to attempt to go for the crit. I'm just going to recover spam because that's what I have to do at this point. As I will actually potentially live a crit. I will live a crit Outrage. It did 64 the first time, so half of that is actually under 100. And it's in my interest to stay as healthy as possible, so I can live a crit into a non-crit. So he's gonna get confused here, and this turn I am gonna Calm Mind up, as he does go out to his Sleeping Gramble, and this thing is fodder for Reuniclus. There's not really much this thing can do, so I'm just gonna start setting up all over this Gramble, and I'm going to speed this right up because this goes on for a little bit, but essentially +3 Signal Beam, because that Spit F drop does 43%. So yeah, don't regret running mono Signal Beam here. It's doing more than enough versus his Bug Resist, as close combat is going to bounce off obviously, and I'm just going to set up a few Acid Armors just in case I get parried into in case I get parried or he crits me with Kyurem the first time. Like I said, I will be able to live a crit Outrage from his Kyurem if he does go for it, and if I can get up to +4 defense with the Acid Armor, then I'll be in a better spot to live a subsequent one the following turn if I need to. So I'm just covering all options if I can, as I think I do just go for the Signal Beam here. He's going to go for Outrage, fail to take me out, does 20%, and we are going to take out Kyurem with the Signal Beam. So that was probably one of the best games of Mons that I've played in I think in my career. Just like being able to overcome that complete joke of a game. Yeah, it's just kind of a testament to not letting yourself get too tilted when you know stuff like this goes down in a game, because it does sometimes. It happens to everybody. I think this was particularly bad. I don't think I've been frozen 7 times straight, you know, frozen for 7 turns after attempting to Thor that many times, and then getting, you know, 3 full paras back to back with Rooney with a Mon versus something like a Magmar. Yeah, it was a wild game, but this game did propel us to a tiebreak. And yeah, I'll be going over that in just a second. Alright, so now I'm going to discuss the tiebreak and what went down in these last couple of days. So, after tying the week in what was a very hacks-filled finals, Crit City, instead of winning the cup, we ended up having to play in the tiebreak versus the Crusaders. So, both teams selected 3 players. The Crusaders put up Dra, L5, and Count. Crit City put up Ricardo, Kaz, and myself. And Ricardo and Count were up first. So, Ricardo was using our Gallade Celestial team, while Count was using the Rain team. And both Count and both Ricardo and Kaz have actually recorded and uploaded their sides of the tiebreak. So I'm going to be leaving those videos in the description. I'm just going to give a brief summary. So definitely go and check out those if you haven't already seen them. Before I spoil the result, obviously. But yeah, so Count and Ricardo played. Count was using his Broken Rain. Rick played a hell of a game, made a great team, but ended up missing a crucial focus blast, which would have likely won in the game at that point with Gallade. But yeah, he missed a focus blast with his own Zero Aura versus Count's, and that really ended up coming to cost him the whole game essentially, as Zero Aura was able to clean up. Then we had Kaz versus Dra, which is the game you see on screen here, and my man Kaz built a phenomenal team. I worked with him all week long, building a team that would be able to take on whatever the Crusaders could throw at us. But yeah, this game was, again, so Kaz missed 2 crucial Hurricanes versus Dra's Drapion, which led to him essentially losing his lob. He also missed a Hurricane versus Rachi when Dra essentially offered his Rachi to Kaz on a silver platter. He missed the Hurricane, which would have put him in range of a knockoff the following turn. But yeah, it was one of those weeks. I think the Crusaders, for all the skill they do have on their team with guys like Dra, their luck is just unparalleled, and that just showed in this finals week and in this tiebreak. So I actually had a team ready for L5. I was looking forward to my game, but yeah, didn't even get to play it because it didn't go to a 3rd game, unfortunately. So a very disappointing way for us to go out in DPL. We were, in my opinion, the better team. We smashed these dudes in the regular season when we played, and had Silver not been crit through a reflect, we would have won the whole thing. So I'm very proud of my boys, very proud of the team. It's no surprise, like it's no secret that I stepped up in a leadership role this season for Crit City. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. They were a really good team to play for, and so they worked really hard, and they piped up. I think everyone doubted Crit City earlier in the season. Like, people were saying we were going to struggle to make playoffs, but here we are, a team that should have won the whole thing. So very proud of the boys. I've spoken to them all individually, so they all know. Like, we've all had our words, but yeah, very proud of the team. Obviously, congrats to the Crusaders for making finals too. Although, like, I don't know how much I can say, how sincerely I can actually say that, because they did luck Jerry Evolution to get here. But they did have a very dominant early season. I will say that. Before they met us in the regular season, they were 4-0, so they had a great start to the season. And guys like Dra, like, out of all the Crusaders, he actually had the most class when it came to this game. You see L5 here being sarcastic as usual. It's sort of expected of this dude because he's a shit poster, but guys like, you see Leo saying when you click Hurricane you need to know what to expect. Very, very... when you understand the context of this tiebreak game and you understand how completely robbed we've been all week, that comment is just completely out of line. Then you have guys like Moran just hyping up Dra. This pissed me off. I actually spoke up. I was like, this is a joke. You guys are hyping up someone after such a blatant robbery of this game and of the whole final series as a whole. Pretty bad to see from guys like Moran. I did expect better from him, but when you're in the heat of the moment and when your team has won, everyone's getting amped up. I get it. You know, it's not, I don't like hold a grudge or anything, but it did surprise me. And yeah, it was pretty tough to see. Very poor sportsmanship from the Crusaders as a whole. Though I will say Dra handled it well. This man handled it with class. He was actually the only dude who acknowledged the bullshit and yeah, take my hat off to him for that. He had a great season. I think he went 10-2, 10-1, 10-2, something like that. He had a really good season, and he was definitely Crusaders' best player. So, yeah, that is going to be the way we end. Very proud of the boys. We ended up with a very good run, and yeah, proud of how it all went. They all worked hard. So that is going to round out my DPL season with Crit City for Season 2, and I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, this was a longer video. This was over an hour. Hopefully you guys took something from it and enjoyed seeing the journey that Crit City went on from start to finish. I'm going to leave a playlist with all the other videos from DPL Season 2. If you're interested in that, you want to go and check those out. Yeah, and drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, and let me know what you guys thought of our season. I'm curious to hear. I feel like we did very well, actually, and like I've parroted 100 times now. Very proud of the team, and yeah, it was a lot of fun teaming with these guys. So let me know what you guys thought, and how you've all been. I haven't been making as many videos as I used to make because I've just been so busy with DPL, but curious to hear. I've got Borderlands 3 dropping in 9 days, which I'm incredibly hyped for. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and let me know what you guys thought in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.